The grand finals continues as we enter Phase 3 here in KDL Preseason 2. The battle continues between Liiv SANDBOX and KWANGDONGFREECS, as I myself will chill and Peter will bring you the action. And Phase 3 is a bit of a unique setup here.
Yeah, we love to see this happen for the first time, the King of the Hill format, and it's going to be really interesting because each team needs to pick the first representative to play in round number 1, and whoever loses that match needs to replace with another player, and of course the winner of that track 1 will get to choose the track for round 2 as well.
Yeah, so if you win that, or whichever track you win, you basically get to say, okay, the next battle, I want to be here, this is where I'm staying, and then the challenge team will say, okay, who do we send out to that track? So there is a bit of a mind game here, of course, right? So the format does give you a little bit of a comeback mechanic, but it also doesn't like force the winning person to always have to play at a disadvantage. So I think it's fairly well balanced, but of course the order is going to matter, especially because as we wait to find out who the first racers are, this one, the track is done by a draw, right? Neither player gets to select it. So you're kind of putting up, okay, who do we think is going to be able to defend for the longest time in this King of the Hill?
That's actually a very interesting way to put it because we know some players are great at clutching it and going for the draft moments, but drafts are not successful all the time. So just as you put it, you maybe want to focus on putting players in the front that are known for really being good at running away with their builds. A player like that stands out for Liiv SANDBOX is Byung-Soo, so I wonder if we're going to be able to see him.
Well, yeah, the first track is going to be WKC Singapore Circuit. Now, a bit of a wider track, right? Not too many crazy turns. And it does mean that is going to be Byung-Soo coming out for Liiv SANDBOX. Cool on the other side. He was the champion of the solo matches in Preseason 1. Of course, this time we crowned Looning yesterday. But here's the thing. I think the other reason you put out Byung-Soo is, right, he is the newest addition when it comes to your speed mode racers on Liiv SANDBOX. Don't force him to be in that pressure spot, right? Just say, hey, go out. If you lose, that's fine. It's King of the Hill. We have other racers that can try to bring things back. Just play your race. It is, again, a wider track. Not too many risks of going for these crazy collisions. No shortcuts, no jumps, nothing like that. This is just a race of pure skill to kick things off here in Phase 3 between Liiv SANDBOX and KWANGDONGFREECS on WKC Singapore Circuit. And the race is off, a continuous 1v1 as both racers trying to break apart from each other and just make sure they are able to get these cuts to build up that boost gauge. Yeah, and you can see Byung-Soo, he really prioritized that boost gauge or taking a wider cut, and that's paid off because now he has a significant lead in that gauge currently, so he's able to really just time whenever he wants to pass by Cool. Yeah, and now the question is, do you always just stay behind until you get towards the end of lap 2? That's when you use the draft, because if you draft forward too early, you basically give that opportunity for Cool to try to draft off of you once again to overtake Byung-Soo. I like what he's doing, continuously just putting pressure on Cool, but using the draft to pressure rather than to overtake.
That is definitely the story between the two players right now. As Byung-Soo, he looked for a sharp inner there as Cool went for a wider turn, but Cool is still able to maintain this lead, which is what Cool is so known for.
Yeah, off of that bridge straight away, Cool actually saves his second boost. He realizes Byung-Soo lost too much speed off of the earlier collision, and he's able to now break away by staying ahead in that boost gauge as well. So Byung-Soo losing the advantage he had in the very first part of the track. Now it's all about catch-up, not quite in draft range just yet. Byung-Soo's going to have to play a bit more aggressively to try to get in range.
It feels like the calm pace for Byung-Soo has definitely been broken now. You look at the boost gauge, Cool is so far ahead, and Byung-Soo, he's absolutely playing catch-up here, but he also needs to build up more boost gauge somehow.
Yeah, just got the draft though, so that gives him an advantage to catch back up. Now he needs to stay in line with the boost so that off of the next couple drafts, he's able to catch up and overtake. Cool tries to swing around, block him out. Byung-Soo realizes that he's now caught all up. He will have one more opportunity to get that draft. He's trying to stay right behind him. The draft comes in. Can he overtake on this turn by using the acceleration? Cool with another nice block.
Cool is playing so out of his mind right now with all these blocks coming in. Byung-Soo not able to find the answer to Cool's lead here. Byung-Soo going for the wider turn, but Cool with the inner. He's still in the lead.
Yeah, one more draft opportunity around this corner, but it's not going to be enough as Cool continuously blocks him out. Byung-Soo, do you have another chance? It does not look like it. The draft comes in. He's just trying to use it to try to overtake at the speed, but it is not going to be enough as Cool crosses the finish line and defends the spot so far for the KWANGDONGFREECS.
That was a victory in classic Cool fashion if I've ever seen one. It feels like Cool. He was just in the lead throughout that whole entire race, not bothered by the fact that Byung-Soo, he took a line that was able to provide that boost gauge advantage in the earlier phase for Byung-Soo. Cool, just focusing on his own game while in the lead, and he was able to catch up in the boost gauge as well.
Yeah, Byung-Soo just trying to break away off of that very last draft. It brought him so close, right? 0.1 seconds. But alas, Cool just a bit too far ahead. Now Cool gets 30 seconds to select the next track. We'll have a chance to discuss with his coach. Of course, this is still a team effort as it is a team match. It's simply King of the Hill 1v1. The reason I think this discussion with the coach is very important is because you can't just simply pick the track that you feel like racing, because you might have to let your other racers now try to challenge Liiv SANDBOX later should you lose one of these early 1v1s. So you want to make sure that enough of your favorite tracks are left over so you can cycle through at the right pace. Now it does look like a little hand signal of maybe the global star of not just Liiv SANDBOX but the KDL. Maybe he will be coming up to challenge.
Yeah, that is the interesting part about this round too, because now Liiv SANDBOX, they also have 30 seconds to go through the discussion within their teammates and coaches to figure out who is the most optimal player here to go against Cool. And you have to kind of decide based on the playstyle. Cool, he likes to just stay in first place, so do you want to choose a player who accelerates in timing the drafts, maybe like Neil?
Now, I mean, New York Rally, this is one where Neil has shown some great plays, right, when it comes to these 1v1s. So we'll wait to find out. Of course, the losing team gets to select their racer after the track so they know what to challenge on, right, where you will be taking on that challenge against the current defending racer of that hill. Currently, it's Cool leading KWANGDONGFREECS in a 1-0, knocking out Byung-Soo here in Phase 3 of these two teams.
And it seems like so far, Liiv SANDBOX, they've taken that time to pick their player carefully, and it has been decided. So in just a few moments, we will get to see who's going up against Cool here in round 2. And honestly, Will, I can't really put my finger on anybody here, but Liiv SANDBOX is saying they put their finger on Jimin.
Okay, so they saw New York Rally and they bring out Jimin. Now, I imagine they're trying to save their more veteran players in Hyunsoo and especially Neil for the potential very difficult tracks that are remaining, right? Things like Mind-Winding Slopes, you know, some of those other tracks, maybe even, you know, a crazy Facility 5, Terracotta Twister. Those are tracks where you want to bring out your, you know, ace veterans to play in this 1v1. Now, of course, Jimin, a very skilled racer in his own right, but he used to be that item ace, you know, competed in solos here and there, and continued to prove himself now moving in as a hybrid role. But now he has to prove himself for the team. Here in the grand finals, Phase 3, we go to track 2. It is Cool's selection of World Tour New York Rally as Liiv SANDBOX sends Jimin out for the challenge.
We kickstart our round 2 of the King of the Hill in the finals Phase 3. Cool once again trying to knock out another player from Liiv SANDBOX here as we see Jimin. He's trying to stay in the lead this time.
Yeah, I mean, I love that we see more and more racers going for these very aggressive starts, right? Completely blocked out Cool in the beginning. And again, Jimin constantly going for the out-to-in lines around these corners to make sure he blocks out Cool. And Cool, that fake's just absolutely brilliant. Makes it look like he's going to try to cut inwards and then boost straight forward on the outer track. And that throws off Jimin, where Cool is able to maintain his top speed to try to overtake him.
And right now, Jimin is forced to play catch-up again. And keep in mind, there's only one lap here. So Cool taking that collision is going to be a huge opportunity for Jimin now to build up some lead.
Yeah, but Cool correctly goes under as well. He's really been preferring that build that he showed us earlier in the team mode as well. Now, once again off that draft, Cool overtakes Jimin as we go into the park area, entering the second half of the track. Draft range still applicable for both racers.
Keep in mind that Cool has such a big advantage in the draft, in the boost gauge right now. So Jimin, he needs to play catch up, but he's also having so much pressure applied to him as we see Cool already positioning himself for the blocks.
Yeah, but the swift cuts come into play for Jimin as he is able to catch up in boost and using the draft to pressure Cool. Cool just tries to stay ahead by cutting way too close to the wall. Now he has to catch up, but will he even get into draft range? As we enter the straightaway, it doesn't look like it. Jimin just using the boost right away as it fills up because he knows he is in the lead. You can see him laughing. He even does a little ceremony spin towards the end as he's able to take down the indomitable Cool and tie things up 1-1 here in Phase 3.
This is such a nice achievement for Jimin here. He's able to win against the likes of Cool, who's so good at any matches involving pretty much the concept of speed. And the fact that Jimin, in the previous preseason, he came in as the item ace, and now in preseason 2, he had to prove that he's able to play in these speed modes. And if you're able to beat Cool in a 1v1, what better way can you prove yourself?
And just the way he did it too. I mean, absolutely calculated, right? He pressures him there. You would have still had a chance. Now, of course, you can't celebrate for too long. You got 30 seconds to select the next track. I'm curious. Honestly, I kind of want to see Liiv SANDBOX take on the challenge on Mine 3 shortcuts at some point, right? This is a track that KWANGDONGFREECS has been avoiding in team mode all throughout the day in both Phase 1 and 2. It's something that plagued them in previous team matches as well. Now, obviously, it's not as chaotic when it's just a 1v1, but, I mean, you need to be so aware of potential collisions. Oh, no, it's going to be Terracotta Twister. Another one that KWANGDONGFREECS struggled with a bit. However, curiously enough, like you mentioned earlier during Phase 1 and 2, Peter, this is one that Liiv SANDBOX banned out when it was a 4v4.
And that is why it's going to be now a nice form of strategy that KWANGDONGFREECS can utilize to figure out the players. The coach actually looked really excited coming onto stage, and you can see him really smiling because they know that the ball is in their park now.
Yeah, of course, it is World, Spear, and Sungbin remaining. I wonder if on the side of Liiv SANDBOX, this is also a bit of a gambit to try to draw out World, right? I mean, This is a track that he's raced on so much. He's been that power ace for the KWANGDONGFREECS when they needed it the most. It looked like it. He motioned that he'll take it as well. He puts his earbuds in, and that's the thing. If you can draw him out early on, and then if Jimin takes down World, I mean, you take down World and Cool, of course. I mean, Sungbin and Spear very good in their own rights, but takes a lot of pressure off of Liiv SANDBOX's back.
That's why Jimin is playing that secret weapon right now for Liiv SANDBOX. He was already able to take out Cool, and I think that alone feels like he's done more than enough. But just as you put it, Will, Jimin was able to force out the Ace Match King, World himself, who was able to beat Liiv SANDBOX earlier today in the Phase 1, and now he's trying to prove himself yet again as an Ace Match victor.
And here's the thing, you saw what happened on New York Rally World. You already have to consider, is Jimin gonna go for another aggressive start? Should I look to avoid him? Should I look to battle him? I mean, this is the thing that happens when you have these King of the Hills. The macro mind games from round to round start to pile up. And currently, it is on the table of World to figure out, how do I solve this question of Jimin's start? Is it going to be an aggressive one? Is he going to take it passive? Will he let me keep the lead until the very end? Jimin has thrown the question over, and it's World's job to figure out the answer.
And I'm sure that World is a player that will be able to figure that just fine because he's been able to maneuver around so many different types of opponents here in the KDL. And as he looks to take down Jimin here in round 3, we will be taken to World Tour Terracotta Twister.
Tied 1-1 in Phase 3. World says, no, I'm just going to get the better start boost and make sure Jimin doesn't even have a chance to come up on that aggressive battle. Currently, World, when it comes to ace matches, 7 wins, 1 loss in the KDL preseason. Jimin, this was his first time playing in a team mode 1v1. He takes down Cool to start off his ace career.
And you can see the play style between Jimin and World really coming into play right here. Both players really preferring to stay in the lead. You can see Jimin and World constantly taking aggressive turns in order to get back that first place, like this right here from World.
Yeah, but Jimin, he actually forced the slowdown from World, but he goes a bit too far on that first curve, just trying to avoid each other.
Ooh.
The twists and turns, but World will recover. However, he loses too much speed. He hits the bump. He's just trying to stay alive, and Jimin takes that opportunity to boost ahead.
Jimin has such a nice lead for himself right now, and as we take a look at the boost gauge, it is pretty evenly matched. World, if anything, slightly in the lead here. Now he's going to try to apply more pressure and go for the outer line here, force Jimin to come back in, and that's going to give World some advantage here.
Yeah, but Jimin currently absolutely has the initiative, right? World's just working off of drafts, and it looks like Jimin is absolutely one step ahead of him. He knows the exact moves that World likes to make. He's constantly just very aware of the draft timings. Right now, not giving it up. Now, Jimin takes a bit too close of a turn. Will lose that acceleration. Now he has to play a bit of catch-up. The draft will help him.
You can see the pressure getting to both players right now, constantly exchanging hands. But this tomb section of Terracotta Twister, this is the final time we are going through it. So it is important for the draft from Jimin.
And Jimin will overtake for the time being. Both of them losing so much speed around that first turn. Neither of them wanting to drop. The draft comes in for Jimin again. He is able to continue to accelerate. He's going from the out to in around the snake turn, but it's not enough just yet. One more draft off the jump. Jimin will try to bump World out. He takes over.
Block.
Will another draft come in for World? Yes, it does, but Jimin blocks him. No, he does not.
Oh my goodness.
World able to keep the straight course despite the bump, and will be able to take over Jimin as he brings the lead back to the KWANGDONGFREECS.
That match, the whole entire time, Jimin and World kept trying to stay in the lead. There was no timing draft this time around. It was any time an opportunity arises, I'm going to be in the front. And near the end of that, World was able to take a big advantage. Jimin, he was forced to play defensively, and that made him lose speed.
Man, I feel like Jimin definitely had a very good idea, and I think the plan was solid, but World not phased. I mean, the collision, Jimin would have had to take a much harder turn to absolutely strong stop World, or maybe even just be absolutely ahead of him for a hard stop. And World knows that Jimin didn't have that leisure, so World just stays his course. That's how he's able to maintain his acceleration. Track selection ends even within 15 seconds, and World says, oh, welcome back. I mean, you guys have Hyunsu and Neil left. I've taken down both racers on mine winding slopes. Which one will it be this time?
And you can see this time around, Liiv SANDBOX, they're in for a deep discussion here. It's not about smiles and excitement anymore. You have to be really careful now, given that KWANGDONGFREECS, they've knocked out 2 of your players. So now you only have Hyunsu and Neil left. And both players are very proficient in speed mode. You can consider them the aces of the team. And you have to wonder who's going to be saved for last.
I mean, both of them, they challenged World on this track this year when it came to the Liiv SANDBOX KWANGDONGFREECS ace matches. Neither of them able to get that victory. I mean, for Hyunsu, it was just a moment ago. And World so confident on this track. That's why it only took a mere, 10, 15 seconds to decide when you were given that 30-second window. KWANGDONGFREECS seems like once he got over that kind of gambit from Jimin to call out, onto Terracotta Twister, they now feel very confident in the upcoming track selection. How the rest of the rounds will go as both teams go towards that trophy, and it's going to be the Neo World rematch.
We love seeing this rematch here. It's been a while since we've seen it. And Neil having the record against him. World has beat him here previously, so it's going to be a time for redemption today.
Yeah, and Neil, a lot of pressure on this guy. He's such a star player, and yet so far in the KDL, right, as we kicked things off with the preseason so far in 2023, the 1v1s have not been kind to him. The solo match, 8-man races, the team races, they've all been good to him. But the 1v1s, he needs to prove himself, and what a better chance than to start things off against World here on Mine Winding Slopes.
We go off into round 4 of King of the Hills of Phase 3, and it seems like Liiv SANDBOX, they only have 2 players left, so Neil, he needs to try to knock out World. As we see, Neil, he does have a nice lead.
Yeah, now what happened right from the start is both of them going for that aggressive start. World tries to cut out Neil, but as World not able to recover from his swift cuts too much, Neil able to just use the draft to get ahead very early on. And World, while he is absolutely in draft range, we already go through the first jumps, and World, he's not going to have too many more opportunities to try to pressure Neil.
Absolutely, that jump really killed a lot of momentum for World there, whereas Neil, he's been having a phenomenal time on his own in the front, and you can see the boost gauge, also Neil leading slightly.
And Neil with a great positioning off of that first jump, but he will be able to just barely recover. He doesn't hit that wall there, he just gives way for World as Neil wanted to slow down, make sure he doesn't collide into the wall off of that jump. He puts himself back in position for the drafts, trying to catch up to World. Now we are nearing the end towards the hairpins. This was where World was able to absolutely shut down Hyunsu earlier, but World hits the wall. He loses a lot of acceleration, uses the spin turn to recover, and Neil just says, I have one more chance. Another draft coming up towards the end here. No, he barely not able to really fill up the draft gauge, and World will fly towards the finish line, defending the hill once again.
World is showing up big time for KWANGDONGFREECS right now. He showed up in round 3. He knocked down Jimin, and now he manages to knock down Neil once again here in the winding slopes. And it seems like World, the reason why we call him the Ace Match Slayer, is really showing up today here in the Phase 3 of the team match finals. Liiv, SANDBOX, their backs are pushed against the wall.
And here's the thing, like you said, you're down to your last racer. World knows who it's going to be. Hyunsu, the captain of Liiv SANDBOX, remaining to try to command the fleet to victory, but he will have to go through 3 remaining members of the KWANGDONGFREECS. Nothing short of a miracle, but here we go. World, where does he feel most comfortable to take on Hyunsu, who he took down earlier today on that track we just saw, Mine Winding Slopes?
It feels like World is just the final boss right now for Liiv SANDBOX that they need to get over. It's been such a big hurdle for them, but he's not even the final boss, which is why there's so much pressure on Hyunsu here to perform, and it seems like the track is going to be Mine 3 shortcuts.
Wow, really? KWANGDONGFREECS picks up Mine 3 shortcuts. Now no discussion needed, as it's just one racer remaining. The one who used to be the youngest, right? The rookie on the side of Liiv SANDBOX for the longest time, now rises as the captain, try to command the fleet in spirit of his former captains, of his former veteran brothers like Insu, Seungha, even Seungtae from a while before. Hyunsu, can he bring the glory back home for Liiv SANDBOX? Or will KWANGDONGFREECS continue to be the back-to-back preseason champions in the KDL? We find out in round 5 on Mine 3 shortcuts.
You can see the difference right now in the mindset between Hyunsu and World. World just looks so calm and collected because even if World loses, he knows he has 2 more teammates to back him up. Whereas for Hyunsu, if he loses this one, it is over for Liiv SANDBOX. So he needs to somehow recover for his team here in Mine 3 shortcuts.
Hyunsu against the world. Liiv SANDBOX versus KWANGDONGFREECS. We are in round 5 in the King of the Hill Phase 3. Hyunsu leads, but this is a 3-lapper, and of course it's called 3 shortcuts for a reason. We get towards that magma near the end and anything could happen.
That is why it's going to be absolutely pivotal that both players stay focused till the end. It's all about consistency right now, not about who's leading for the time being. And as we see the boost gauge, World, he's holding a better grasp on that right now.
Yeah, Hyunsu earlier just slows down, try to get a stop against World, doesn't want to risk anything, doesn't want to ruin his build just to try to stay ahead. And Hyunsu will be able to recover, of course. They are both still right next to each other, and both of them seemingly very aware this is a long marathon. World with a nice bump against Hyunsu forces him to slow all the way down, but World, he's going to actually hit a bump against the wall himself, so it's back to square one between these 2 racers as we enter.
Oh my
man,
goodness, Hyunsu!
The bait from Hyunsu. He looks like he's way too close to the edge. World tries to reset on his build, and he tries to just go for the block at the same time. World absolutely spins out of control into the lava, and now it's all up to World to try to catch up. Hyunsu unseen on the radar.
It's so hard right now for World to catch up. The pressure is all on the shoulders of World, whereas Hyunsu, all he needs to do now in this final lap is stick to his line.
Oh man, the aggressive hit off of that jump in the second lap, now coming back to bite World, and Hyunsu, all he has to do, like you said, not make a mistake. You can see it in the picture-in-picture. He's just playing it safe. He's not taking any risks, and while World does catch up because of the slight extra boost he's trying to collect, it's not going to be enough. Hyunsu's still a boost in the bank, and he will fly across the finish line. The captain keeps the Armada alive, afloat for 1 extra round.
The mountain of World that's constantly held Liiv SANDBOX back is finally defeated by the captain of Liiv SANDBOX. Hyunsu himself, he's done the impossible, and now he needs to do it 2 more times, as now it's so much pressure at least coming off the shoulders of Hyunsu, because he's done that first step.
Man, Takes Down World gets his revenge in the same day. Earlier in the first phase, the ace match, World takes down Hyunsu on Winding Slopes, but now, finally, track selection for Hyunsu. He's looking to see where he will able to take down the upcoming members. Now, there are still 2 members left, so we do not know which racer will rise to the occasion. We'll wait to see what the track is first.
The track is going to be a huge boost for Hyunsu. The fact that he can pick it himself, even just mindset-wise, it's going to give him a lot of confidence as he takes his time to carefully discuss it with his teammates and the coach, and it feels like the decision has been made.
Just right at the end of the 30-second timer, it looks like it was an entire team effort as well as some of the other teammates gathering around. And wow, well, this is basically a challenge saying, hey, whoever comes out, it doesn't matter. And I like this choice, right? Because you don't know. You do not know which racer they will field. Go to a track that is traditional. Go to a track where really it's anybody's game. It's just about your foundational skills. Go to that track where once you win, now you know your opponent and you will have that track selection advantage. You have to think ahead for that. You have to think long term. If you are Hyunsu and Liiv SANDBOX, you will, if you win, take that to that last round. You're the one who's going to have track selection. And so you take things on to Extreme Stadium. It did look like it was Spear getting prepared. He's never entered the ace matches so far here in the KDL. And finally, we will see him play a 1v1 race in the team matches for the KWANGDONGFREECS.
And when we interviewed Spear earlier in the day, he said he feels absolutely confident to step up to the plate when it's needed for his team and play out these ace matches. It would mean the world for KWANGDONGFREECS if they're able to close it out here early on against Hyunsu, because that would mean that KWANGDONGFREECS, they were able to win with still a man left in their pocket.
You mentioned it earlier, Peter. I mean, it's KWANGDONGFREECS who still has more racers in the bank. However, if you lose this one, when we go to round 7, it's Hyunsu who gets to have that track selection advantage. So we shall find out, will Spear be able to shut things down as we go to Glacier Extreme Stadium?
Off we go into round 6 of King of the Hill from Phase 3, and if Hyunsu can win this one, he will be able to force out the final player from KWANGDONGFREECS, and if Spear wins, that is going to be the victory locked in for KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yeah, Spear currently holding the destiny of the KWANGDONGFREECS in his hand, trying to bring home that trophy of Preseason 2, trying to claim that KWANGDONGFREECS was absolutely the strongest team in the preseasons of KDL. Hyunsu! He recovers himself from that bump, and Spear actually thinks he has an advantage, but spins into the wall. The gap is too big, out of draft range. Once again, the pressure on the racer of KWANGDONGFREECS.
Hyunsu is able to develop these leads through his baits. The mind games are so good from the captain of Liiv SANDBOX himself, trying to keep the dreams alive for his team. You can see Spear, he's making mistakes that's costing him speed, and he needs to do it because he needs to greed to catch up.
Yeah, just you can see the Swift Cuts just trying to fill up whatever he has left in each boost gauge. He's trying to catch up, but Hyunsu, he's feeling comfy, still out of draft range, and he's boosting around every single corner, making sure he has one more in the bank so that when Spear catches up, he will be able to break away. Still one full boost ahead in the form of Hyunsu.
You can see right now, Spear is about 55 meters behind Hyunsu, and Hyunsu has not been giving up any of this lead. We can see Spear now cutting some of that distance down with these aggressive cuts as we approach the final sections here.
Yeah, Hyunsu does need to watch out. Once we get into that hairpin, Spear is very close enough to definitely get one more draft in the very last jump. So Hyunsu currently saving up the double boost so he can start to spin around these hairpins, not give that timing. The draft comes in for Spear, but it's a little too early. He can't continue the acceleration, and he's not in range for the second one. Hyunsu plays this so smart as he does not make a single mistake, crosses the finish line, and keeps the Armada going forward. Liiv SANDBOX will take us to the very last round in this King of the Hill.
It is so awesome that the captain was able to step up to the plate when he was needed most. He was faced with the impossible task of having to take down World and then Spear. And now he's accomplished all that, forcing Guangdong Freaks to reach into their pocket and bring out Sungbin.
All right, last track selection. Now suddenly things have flipped. While it was the Guangdong Freaks leading, they could not close things out, and now track advantage for Hyunsu. Sure, he's had to do 2 races so far, but it's just another day for the captain of Liiv SANDBOX. Who or where will he take us to meet Sungbin, the last remaining Guangdong Freaks racer?
Wherever it is that Hyunsu chose, it must feel so great right now. Hyunsu is riding on a high. He has all the momentum in his heels, whereas now the pressure is really applied for Guangdong Freaks. We already know who the player is going to be, and the track is Zigzag Timberland.
Another classic, another track that we've seen so much in the preseasons of the KDL. And now all smiles gone on the side of Guangdong Freaks as well. Momentum entirely on the side of Hyunsu. He's feeling the absolute speed and rush as he takes down the previous 2 racers, forces Sungbin to have to ride to the occasion.
And this is going to be the one final match here in Phase 3 to determine it all. The results of the team victory on the backs of Hyunsu and Sungbin right now. It would be a miraculous story if Hyunsu is able to win here against Sungbin, win 3 rounds in a row, but for Sungbin it would be lovely as well to finally bring that victory back.
This is going to be the very last race of Preseason 2 here at the KDL, the very last race of the preseasons at all of the KDL. We go to Forest Zigzag Timberland. And they're off. Hyunsu versus Sungbin. Liiv SANDBOX in red, Guangdong Freaks in blue, and you can just see the mind games already. The aggressive starts from both sides, both of them losing a little bit of speed, but right now Sungbin starts to shoot ahead.
And keep in mind that this is a pretty significant lead, so Hyunsu, he definitely needs to play a lot of catch-up. He needs to go for the aggressive turns, and that's allowed Sungbin to have this boost gauge advantage.
Now, Sungbin, he's been watching the previous races. He knows how Hyunsu has taken away his teammates previously, and this track is no exception. So many twists and turns, the hairpins towards the end, lots of opportunities for Hyunsu to put pressure, to force these errors to come out from Sungbin.
And so far, Hyunsu, he's been staying behind, but still enough to draft when he needs to. Hyunsu has done a great job of recovering that big lead that Sungbin was able to build, and now Hyunsu himself, he's going to be able to take that first place for now.
Yeah, Hyunsu just waiting to see, and as Sungbin tries to slow down to gauge what Hyunsu's call is, he uses that draft to say, all right, this is my chance to get ahead for the time being. Now Hyunsu, he can try to play those mind games, but it's actually going to be Sungbin who forces the error out. He just swings right by Hyunsu. Now Hyunsu should have a chance to try to catch up as we enter the straightaway into lap 2, but it's going to take a little bit of extra swift cuts to maintain this boost advantage.
And both players are opting for that right now. Sungbin still trying to keep up this lead so that Hyunsu cannot get back in draft range. But Hyunsu, he's going to be able to pull it off. You look at the turns he's taking.
Yeah, he also used that boost right off of the jump. Gave him a little bit extra top speed, extra acceleration to maintain in the air. A slight bump, but it doesn't stop Hyunsu for the time being. Boost gauge equalized on both sides. Sungbin knows this is his race to take. He's far in the lead. The drafts are not going to come into play just yet. We enter the hairpin section in the next couple turns.
The difference in mindset right now, Sungbin, he's just playing his own game, trying to play perfect to not give any edge over Hyunsu. He needs to pull out some tricks up his sleeve because he is so far behind right now. He needs the draft opportunity.
Oh, Hyunsu's filling his boost gauge so well, but so is Sungbin. Sungbin's not playing relaxed at all. He knows that Hyunsu's the type of racer who can catch up at any time. And an excellent cut around the inner side of the corner puts Hyunsu into draft range. He gets one draft. He's now caught up. Should have one more opportunity as he tries to get in towards the last 500 meters. The draft gauge just not filling up as Sungbin continues to shoot forward. The boost comes into play 1 second earlier, and Sungbin brings home victory. Guangdong Freaks will repeat their preseason run as they take the trophy once more.
The final soldier for Guangdong Freaks, Sungbin, he's able to pull off a tall task of having to take down the captain of Liiv SANDBOX himself. The fact that Sungbin was able to have such a big lead throughout the whole race was pivotal because the mindset was able to give him such a calm victory.
What a race from both teams. But Sungbin, seeing what Hyunsoo was able to do the previous 2 tracks and serving Hyunsoo a taste of his own medicine, forcing the error out, will secure the very last round in this King of the Hill. And after a grueling 3 phases, KWANGDONGFREECS crosses the stage, trying to console their opponents, but of course, it can't be all smiles. One team rises as the victor, as one team will go home with yet another defeat here in Preseason 2.
The fact that Liiv SANDBOX lost twice now in both preseasons in the finals to KWANGDONGFREECS is heartbreaking, but for KWANGDONGFREECS, it doesn't matter because now they get to take that trophy and an honorable victory that is so well-deserved. It was a tough battle to get here into the postseason. They struggled against the teams in the round robins, but it doesn't matter when you're able to pull through in the end.
Man, what an impressive feat here from the KWANGDONGFREECS, and we will have a chance to hear from them as we get ready for the awards ceremony. We will be translating these live for you. And this is Caster Sung on stage. Now, after Preseason 1, you continue here in Preseason 2 with another absolute victory. Let's first get to meet them here on stage. First up, it's Cool. First of all, congratulations. Thank you. Now, during, compared to the round robin, and of course, you know, even previously in Preseason 1, today didn't look that easy. How was it for you? You know, I mean, Liiv SANDBOX, they had a roster change, but they're still such a difficult team, and they're still so strong. So this was a tough Grand Finals to prepare, but we were still able to play our game. Now, you know, looking at the Grand Finals, Phase 1 and Phase 2, both of them looked different than expectation. KWANGDONGFREECS looked so strong in the item mode. Now, how was it for you? Is this exactly how you guys saw it happening? Well, for us, I mean, when it comes to speed mode, we've always been very, very good. And so we'll be honest, that's not what we focused on. Item mode is where we really, really practiced here to prep for the Grand Finals, and I think it definitely paid off. Yes, of course, after both winning Preseason 1 and 2, you guys have now proven yourselves and the value of KWANGDONGFREECS. Now we move on to meet Spear. Now, I think a lot of people are probably curious when it comes to Phase 3. You know, you kind of waited to come out into the later rounds. Was that something you guys always planned ahead? No, that wasn't necessarily planned. But you know, if Sungbin won right away, I wouldn't have had a chance to race. So, you know, at that point. Oh, so was it your choice? Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got in the race. Okay, well, you know, also looking at Preseason 2, you know, compared to Preseason 1, you were so aggressive. Now in Preseason 2, you've proven that that wasn't a fluke, that you were able to continue that type of aggressive play. Is this something that you've been building towards as your own brand? Well, for today, it didn't go really as I wanted, so I'm not quite sure. Sure, maybe today, but overall, during the preseason, you looked very strong. So now looking towards the regular season, are you looking forward to build more of your style? When we go into the regular season, I will absolutely improve and show you even better matches to prove myself a bit more. We can see that you're still, you know, a bit miffed, but still, I mean, looking at just like that sign, that top speed, you're definitely reaching that point. Okay, now Sungbin. Now, looking at Japan circuit earlier, you were able to, you know, split the opponents and then block Liiv SANDBOX when we kicked off Phase 1. Did that feel just absolutely exhilarating to get that win? I actually thought first place would be tough for our team. And, you know, I saw them trying to overtake me, and I was just trying to defend my own spot, but somehow I got pushed into first place with a little bit of luck. And then afterwards, you were the last racer coming in round 7 of the King of the Hill. And sure, we talk about how strong of an ace match racer you are, but that's such a high-pressure situation. And, you know, you skipped a lot of the tracks that you personally prefer. What were you thinking when you saw Zigzag Timberland show up? I mean, for me, no matter what the order was, I didn't personally really care. So I was more of the case of I'll let my, racers, my teammates take whatever tracks they wanted or even start things off. I was ready to be the first racer if we needed me to be, but, I was the last one, so, I didn't really think of it too much. No, you're right. I mean, KWANGDONGFREECS is that team where you guys are technically all aces, so really anything could have worked, and it absolutely was the best decision. Now, World, Phase 1, you did the same thing, and mine, Winding Soaps, it seems like this is your track when it comes to these 1v1s. I think you've got to be very satisfied. Well, I mean, yeah, we won, right? We're the champions, so yes, I'm very, very happy. And, I just want to give a shout out that my teammates did so well. That's why we were able to win. Preseason 2, overall, a little bit difficult for the KWANGDONGFREECS, but you were still able to get to the very end. Looking back on Preseason 2, what are your thoughts? And also a bit of a shout out to the fans that have been supporting you throughout. First of all, yes, our team, of course, we had to go through a lot of things this preseason. And my teammates actually supported me so much, even when I was having trouble really staying focused and recovering my mental. And I know, our team probably felt really bad about our performance of our item mode and the struggles we had. But they still stuck by me, and they were still very good about giving constructive criticism to each other. And also, I just want to give a shout out to Liiv SANDBOX for providing such an excellent and exciting match. And also to our coach as well. I mean, he went through a lot with us as well, so thank you so much. But last but definitely not least, to all the fans here and that support us, thank you so much. And we now look forward to the regular season. There's a little bit of time left, and during that time, we as KWANGDONGFREECS will brush up all of our mistakes, and we'll try to accomplish 3 championships here in KDL this year. See that little pat from Racinggame. Yeah, I mean, I think we can all feel that, you were holding those tears back, and I think a lot of fans know where that's coming from. But it's what was funny was that you were talking about that, item mode seemed a little tough, and Sungmin just shook his head that it was all fine. But yeah, I mean, we even saw, World, you were doing well today when it came to Clock Tower Crossing, so I think the teammates would like to give you a shout out as well in that item mode. Well, once again, KWANGDONGFREECS, they take over, and they will be taking the title here of Preseason 2, and now we will get ready for the award ceremony. That was the winner's interview with our preseason back-to-back champions of KWANGDONGFREECS. And I mean, Peter, you can see how much it meant for KWANGDONGFREECS and World, especially as the captain, to try to keep the team together, bring home another victory.
For sure, it was such a tough road to get here to the team finals, and the fact that KWANGDONGFREECS are able to pull it off in such a fashion against Liiv SANDBOX, being able to win in the King of the Hills, despite looking like Hyunsu, he took all the momentum. It's such a great story for KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yeah, I mean, excellent just resilience coming out from KWANGDONGFREECS, and I mean, they talked about it during the interview as well. There's nothing to skirt around. It's very clear that the KWANGDONGFREECS, they went through a lot this preseason, not just the races, but not all the results they wanted and things outside of the game as well. However, they were able to overcome, they were able to keep their composure and focus on what they needed to, which, like Cole said, was that item mode. And meanwhile, on the other side, another great team that, went through a lot. They went through these giant roster changes. They were still able to rise to the occasion and take that runner-up spot.
The runner-up spot is still a great achievement to get here in KDL because the competition is so fierce. You have so many teams that you have to get through to get here, and Liiv SANDBOX, just as you put it, going through problems of their own, but still being able to push KWANGDONGFREECS to their absolute edge shows why Liiv SANDBOX has that long-lasting rivalry with KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Liiv SANDBOX and the Racers, you have to remember, you have this new formation of roster trying to challenge the KWANGDONGFREECS who have been together all year long here in the KDL, and give it a little bit more time. Maybe next time. This time, you took them to Phase 3. Earlier in Preseason 1, you lost 2-0. This time it's Phase 3 all the way down to round 7. maybe in the regular season we'll see a different result.
Yeah, that's the great thing about KDL. We just finished up 2 preseasons, and now the official league is waiting for us. So the excitement and the hype keeps building for our teams, especially for our 2-time champion, KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yeah, of course. You know, we always like to emphasize, yeah, it's just a preseason. It doesn't hold in the record books when we talk about record wins and things like that once the regular season starts. But still, what an absolutely impressive feat. Back-to-back 2023 preseason KDL champions. They will be given their medal here, going over to Sungbin first, of course, the one who brought home that ace victory in round 7. And basically this means that they were not only the very first team to say that they were champions in the KDL, even though it's the preseason, but they are absolutely the team to beat as everyone prepares for the regular league.
This is why this roster here is so beloved by many fans here in KDL. They're showing to be so strong despite their 4-man lineup, not needing a 5th player for that item mode. And the reason why is because each players here individually shine in every aspect of Kart Rider.
Yeah, I mean, if you're able to be so dominant in speed mode that you just hard focus on item mode when you need it, and you're able to turn things around today, still winning a lot of those speed mode tracks, an absolutely impressive feat here from the KWANGDONGFREECS. Of course, just now we had announcer Sheehan coming out, Lila, to give the awards to our champions. Caster Sung announcing our champions once again on stage, and to all the global racers, once again, the dominant team of the KDL preseason are the KWANGDONGFREECS.
I can't believe it, Will, that KWANGDONGFREECS was able to pull this off 2 seasons in a row. But when you take a look at their matches, the domination of World and Ace matches, and the team speed always going in the way of KWANGDONGFREECS, it is no surprise.
Yeah, a very, very impressive feat, and just gets you really excited to see, can they continue that when they get ready for the regular season? Liiv SANDBOX is looking stronger as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the preseasons here of the KDL. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we take a short break, a couple weeks, and then we should be getting ready for the regular season. We hope to see you there.
Be out on the street, watching you dance closer to me. Won't you take my hand? Can I have this dance? I wanna be under the lights, watching the stars flickering bright. Won't you take my hand? Can I have this dance? I wanna be out on the street, watching you dance closer to me. Won't you take my hand? Can I have this dance? I wanna be under the lights, watching the stars flickering bright. Won't you take my hand? Can I have this dance?
이번 시즌 가장 열심히 준비했던 시즌인데 많이 아쉽게 끝나서 다음 시즌을 더 열심히 준비할 수 있게 된 계기가 된 것 같습니다.
성공적으로 끝마친 것 같아서 만족감도 있지만 결과가 그렇게 좋은 건 아닌 것 같아서 아쉬움도 좀 남는 것 같아요.
많은 기대와 꿈을 가지고 이번에 다시 복귀하게 되었는데 어떻게 보면 새로운 도전일 수 있었지만 좋게 마무리된 것 같아서 참 다행이라고 생각합니다.
이번 시즌 락스에 들어와서 귀여운 동생들이 2명 있어가지고 많이 재밌게 리그한 것 같습니다.
팀의 막내인데 형들이 잘 챙겨줘서 고마웠어요.
시즌 1 때는 그렇게 좋지 않은 성적을 가지고 탈락을 했었는데 저희가 포스트 시즌을 확정짓게 돼서 그 순간이 가장 짜릿하고 기분이 좋았던 것 같아요.
호준이 형이랑 해결해봤던 게 재밌었던 것 같아요. 경기를 지긴 했는데 그걸 계기로 좀 배운 것도 많았고 재밌었잖아요. 그래서 그게 가장 기억에 많이 남는 것 같아요.
미래라는 리더십을 좀 더 많이 키웠으면 좋겠고 전 주장이었던 인수 형처럼 팬분들에게 따뜻하게 대해주는 마음을 많이 배웠으면 좋겠어.
때론 좌절할 때도 있겠지만 포기하지 말고 끝까지 화이팅 했으면 좋겠어.
영훈아, 지금 이제 스피드 폼이 많이 다시 되살아나고 있는데 아직 앞으로 갈 길이 많으니까 다시 죽지 말고 지금 하는 것보다 더 열심히 해서 더 잘 달리는 선수가 되자.
미래에 있을 준현아, 개가천선해서 올바른 사람이 되도록 노력했으면 좋겠고 응원할게. 파이팅!
이번 시즌 저희 아우라팀 많이 응원해 주셔서 감사하고 다음 시즌에는 더 좋은 모습 보여드릴 테니까 앞으로도 많은 응원 부탁드리겠습니다. 감사합니다.
제가 어떻게 보면 데뷔한 지 얼마 안 된 신인인데 과분한 사랑 주셔서 너무 감사하고요. 앞으로 더 재밌는 경기들 많이 보여드릴 테니까 많은 응원 보내주시면 감사하겠습니다.